Hey, everybody. I'm Lauren Ruffin, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a brown-skinned Black woman with short hair. It's a little bit longer on top, kind of curly today. I'm wearing I'm wearing round blue rimmed glasses, a blue shirt, pretty basic, and I'm in a pretty plain room right now. Gray ceiling, white background. But I'm really happy to be with y'all here today. I am here and excited to talk about challenges and opportunities of securing the bag in the creative economy. I'm currently the head of the Office of Movement Building at Yerba Buena Center for the Arts in San Francisco. Prior to that, I was one of the co-CEOs of Fractured Atlas. I think I did that for 5 or 6 years. I just accepted a position at Arizona State University as an associate professor teaching world building and visualizing futures. And one of the things I think about a lot is sort of how are we going to finance this future? How are creatives going to make money? And so the title of this talk is also comes from a hashtag FYPM, which means F you pay me. We'll keep it clean because I know y'all are a classy audience. But with that, let's jump in and sort of get this thing going. So one of the quotes I think about a lot is this one that comes out of the education sector that says, when social systems are in periods of rapid transformation, the role of schools becomes contradictory. They teach knowledge that's no longer relevant, socialize people into roles that no longer exist, and provide mindsets needed to continue ways of life that are disappearing. I think we could swap out schools for maybe art sector or museum or whatever institution you're working for. I think a lot about MFA students that I'm teaching who most certainly have a feeling that what they're learning is not going to help them get a job and not going to help them be successful. I think a lot about curators and curatorial practices that in recent years are roles that people sort of think are sort of serve the purpose of gatekeeping and keeping intentionally excluded communities, intentionally exploited communities away from being able to achieve success. So I hold this sort of quote in my mind a lot as I was thinking about this particular talk. So what exactly are we talking about today? We're going to talk about the evolution of digital creative communities. Then we're going to talk about how inequity flourishes online. And then also, of course, because I believe in liberatory practices and sort of a digital world that can be a lot better than our real world, how do we get free? So with that, let's jump into evolution of the digital creator economy. The creator economy right now is projected to hit close to $300 billion in the next 2 years. These are some of the platforms that really I'm thinking about a lot. So you've got TikTok, which is both a creator community. I mean, it's both a creator platform, meaning you can make videos on it, but you can also distribute it. Most folks don't think about LinkedIn as being a creator platform, but the reality is a lot of creators are building their brands, selling courses, finding opportunities to sort of sell their freelance services on LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook. I think we're all pretty familiar with, but all these platforms sort of make up what I currently think of as the creator economy. In addition to those platforms, we've got very, very big companies that are participating in the creator economy. This chart has close to $10 billion on it, $10 trillion on it, excuse me. And it includes companies that you don't typically think about as creative communities or creative companies. You've got your Amazons, Amazon Prime. Hey, that's where people are making money. The filmmakers are most certainly selling stuff on there. Facebook owns Instagram and Facebook. They're making money off of the content that creators are making. You've got Microsoft, which owns LinkedIn. Microsoft owns LinkedIn. It's a creator company now. Microsoft also owns a VR platform that, creators are making things on. So as we're sort of digging into all of these, you've got your Netflixes. This is a lot of money on this, and it's all happening on the backs of creators. And that's why this matters. Creativity is a huge driver of our future workforce and our national economy. That's true today. It's most certainly going to continue to become more and more true over the next 10, 15, 20 years. The issue is that a lot of money is pouring into the sector, but creators are not reaping sort of the benefits of their labor. So between now and 2020, October 2020, $800 million flowed into creator platforms. Some of the ones like I just named, and also some new ones like Clubhouse. You might remember spending time on Clubhouse. And yet only 46% of these creators who are building audiences on these platforms managed to make $20,000 a year. So these folks are putting a lot of time and attention into the content they're creating, into their videos, their music and everything, but they're only making $20,000, which is not enough to live on, and most certainly not enough for them to hop out of full-time jobs or gig work into being full-time creators. So, again, we're thinking about the creator economy market being really comparable to the gig economy in a couple of years. And we all know how the gig economy has fundamentally changed the way people have work and live and think about money, and think about sort of their place in our world and what they're contributing to our society. Here are a couple of key places where folks are making money online. I'm talking about audience curation, meaning you're growing your audience online on something Instagram or Facebook. Monetization, maybe you're selling courses on Coursera. Maybe you're selling NFTs. We won't talk about NFTs and blockchain too much during this talk, but something I think about a lot. Brand deals, marketplaces like Etsy. That's where you're monetizing an audience. Vertical platforms, maybe it's just you're focusing on one thing like cooking or photography or podcasting. There are platforms that are just for that. Community management. Some of you might be managing a community on Mighty Networks. Well, there are lots of creators who are teaching other creators to make art, to build furniture, to do lots of things, and are managing their own communities and their own conversations on their platforms. And then finally, creator tools. A lot of creators are also building tools for other creators to use. So if people who have a great video workflow might be actually selling that workflow to people. They might be selling technology they're building to people. People who are building websites might be building better ways of building websites. I'm currently using an app called Canva, which is now a unicorn, but Canva is simply a better way to make and present presentations. So it's really interesting stuff that's happening out here today, and people are making money in all kinds of different ways online. With that, of course, we have Inequity just sort of growing and flourishing online. So influencer data is really, really sad right now. This also came from the hashtag I mentioned, the company I mentioned, that's like Glassdoor, FYPM. Across all of the isms, we're seeing where straight, white, cisgender creators are doing a fantastic job making money while everyone else is suffering. The sort of left-hand frame shows that your average straight creator who's at the highest echelon is making $250,000 a year. Your sort of high-end queer creator online is making $15,000 on average. In the middle, you've got by race. Your white creator, again, $250,000. Apparently, it's hard not to make $250,000 online if you're a straight white person. But your average Black person, at the highest end, $1,500. And then we're seeing that same thing happen across gender. Part of the reason this happens is because brands reach out to folks and they offer white creators money, and they offer queer creators of color product. So they'll say, hey, I'd love you to try my shampoo. We'll pay you in more shampoo to the creator of color, but they pay the white person or the straight person in actual money. And folks don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to value their work. They're often just happy that a brand's paid attention to them. So there's an educational piece here. There's a data piece. But regardless, this distinction and this bias is already popping up. This is a highly unregulated space. But I would love to see a digital space where folks are actually able to have some sort of regulation around, can we have a creator minimum wage? Like, that would be dope to think about digital creators having an actual minimum wage that, actually, given the way that money flows in and out of, might be higher than your minimum wage sort of for doing traditional retail work or traditional work in the real world. And I use that with my quotes because I think this is the real world, actually. This is, again, really important because, in my opinion, I'm making a big bet. My big bet, I can only afford $5. But by 2025, nearly all cultural workers will be earning revenue online. And in essence, the cultural sector will be indistinguishable from media and technology. And that means, let's say you have a play, and your play is, it's on e-commerce platforms because you're selling merch on Etsy, and you crowdfunded for the play on Kickstarter. And it's a musical. So you're using a platform like Spotify or iTunes to actually sell the music. And then your performance is online on YouTube. And then maybe you're actually turning some of those scenes and performances into digital artwork, whether that's static digital artwork, you can make an NFT out of the music or anything else. But as you can see, just from this basic case study, our cultural sector can make a lot of money by thinking about digital. And I think that many independent creators in particular are already thinking this way. And we most certainly need to have institutions to support them as they begin to experiment in this particular way. Oh man, I am so good. I segued perfectly into how do we get free? So first we have to rethink ownership. A lot of the platforms I just mentioned are owned by in traditional manners. They have founders, they have shareholders. And those folks are the ones who reap the benefits. So when I talked about $800 million coming in and most creators are only making $20,000 coming out, most of that money is being held inside of the corpus of the organization. And the folks who are reaping the benefit are the people who founded it and their shareholders, not the creators who are actually doing the labor to get the platform going. A better model would be to think about co-ops. Platform co-ops have a bunch of benefits, including better healthcare for the folks who work there, a return on the investment of users, higher levels of engagement of users with content, and most certainly on the user side, the users get better content because there's not a scarcity mindset, but from the folks who are actually creating the content and who own the platform. On the policy side, we really also need to rethink policy. Right now, our creative policy is really, we're thinking a lot about sort of traditional things that we've always thought about in terms of labor, perhaps doing a little bit on intellectual property, perhaps thinking about housing locally. But we really need to begin to tap into some of these fights that are happening right now around what free speech looks like online, what ownership looks like online. And there are a lot of groups who are doing fantastic work in this space that we should plug into as a cultural sector and learn from and really support. I think we have so much to contribute, but we also have a lot to learn from the work they've been doing for decades now. And then finally, we have to rethink finance. When I'm talking to my students, I realize that most of them are never planning to work a full-time job, which means if they're 1099 employment, they're not gonna be able to buy a house, they're gonna have a hard time getting loans for anything. Health insurance, there are all these things that happen when you have a full-time job because so many of our benefits are attached to employment. And unfortunately, similar to the quote that I read at the beginning around how we're sort of educating people for a world that doesn't exist, in many ways, our financial sector and philanthropy is actually funding a world that doesn't exist anymore or is soon to not exist anymore. We have to really be thinking about independent creators and what they need. A better model would be investing in character-based lending, whereby these folks lenders are really getting to know the people that they're lending to, who really understand creative businesses, who recognize that, like, yes, a core need of a business is functioning computer equipment. Or maybe if you are a videographer who has to sort of upskill and do better, video cameras can run from a decent one, can run you up to $90,000. However, if you have that, you're eligible for jobs that you wouldn't otherwise be eligible for. So we have to begin to capitalize these people. We need lenders who understand the creative sector. And yeah, I just think that's something that's really, really important, is how capital is flowing to independent creators and how they can get some patient capital. Low interest, no interest loans, I think, are really key to how we finance their work. And with that, I really, really thank you for your time. Happy to engage with you however possible. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Ruffin. On Instagram, you can get me at LowRuffin or CRUXXR. Again, thanks for your time. And hopefully you found this talk helpful to you in your practice.